Hey guys, this is video number 6.3 where we are going to start naming monatomic ions. So right there in that name, what does that prefix mon mean? It means one. So we're going to be just naming single ions here, and then we're going to build up there to binary compounds and ternary compounds. One thing I want to point out is do not start this lab or start trying to work on it or finish it or whatever until you've gone through all three of these videos. And I would encourage you guys not to turn this lab in until you've done some practice and actually checked it, because this will be graded for accuracy. What you're going to be doing in that is you're going to be getting a set of dice, and you're going to be rolling a couple of them basically to get your ions. So on the dice there are ions, and you will write those down, and then you're going to go through and figure out the formula and the name for and how many of those ions that you'll actually need in the formula. So make sure you go through and do a bunch of practice where you actually get into naming binary compounds and ternary compounds and stuff before you try to do that. What I would also encourage you guys to do, if you look over here at the pacing guide, is spend the first, or days 2 and 3 in the unit going through and doing the notes, okay? Watching all 3 note videos. Then before moving on, do not move on, okay? Consider it's like, okay, this is a break right here. And it even says it in the notes. Do not move on to all this stuff, to molecular, until you've mastered ionic, okay? Because notice you've got an ionic quiz that's specifically just talking about naming ionic compounds. So don't get into all the other stuff and confuse yourself. If you try to go into molecular early, then you're going to try and be doing that for everything, because it's way easier than ionic. So we spend much more time. Notice we're spending 4 whole days dealing with ionic in this unit, whereas molecular is going to be like a day and a half, 2 days. Okay, it's going to be much quicker. So spend the time to really master ionic first before you go and start mixing in the molecular stuff. So let's jump right in. And also, I'm sorry, do all 3 videos before you do any of the practice. I'm not sure if I said that or not. I probably already did, but all right, so let's just jump right into 6.3. We're going to be on page 6, talking about those monatomic ions, okay? So really what's going on here is these are your type 1 that we actually highlighted in the last video. Okay, so that's kind of where we're going to start off. First, to name these, it's a pretty simple rule. We're just going to use the element's name. If I can get my highlighter. Just use the element's name plus the word ion. Okay, or you could put cation in there if you prefer that, because remember these are going to be, these type 1s are all positive if you look on your periodic table. If I go back a page, okay, they're the ones that are in yellow. So we know their charges, and that's going to be the simplest to name. So here we go. First example, lithium. Okay, I've got, oops, switch my pen there. Nope. There we go. So Li is going to form a +1. You can also leave it as just a plus. Just know that if there's nothing there, it's assumed to be a 1. And you can get that right from your periodic table. Okay, you don't have to guess what it is, but go look at your periodic table. So if you don't have your reference packets out, get them out. You're going to need them. Okay, and how do we name this? Is we're just going to take the element's name, which is lithium, and then we're going to put the word ion after it. Or if we wanted to, we could put cation. Same thing. Okay, I don't care which one you put, they mean the same thing, because lithium only forms 1 ion. All right, that's it. Okay, so type 1, it's pretty simple. And again, we're going to start off slow, and we're going to kind of go through it. As we're doing the practice, things seem pretty easy. But once everything starts mixing together and you have mixed practice, that's where this gets very challenging for people. But if you can memorize the rules and commit to it and do enough practice, it's really not that bad. The more you do, the better it's going to be. It may click for you, after a few examples, and the person next to you or you're working with, it may take them 15 or 20 or even 30 or 40. Keep working at it. Keep practicing. That's what you got to do. You got to put that time and effort in. If you need to do it outside of class, do it outside of class, because you will struggle. Trust me here. You will struggle the rest of the year if you can't name compounds. So I want you guys to go through, pause the video, try to do the next 3, and then I'll go over here in just a second. So the next one, Na +1, we're going to just call it sodium ion or sodium cation. Next one, magnesium, so Mg2+, that's going to be called the magnesium ion. Or again, cation, doesn't matter. and Ca2+, calcium ion. Pretty simple. All right, so let's move on to the next type. Okay, this is naming monatomic cations that are transition metals. So this, if you look back to the periodic table that we colored in, these are your type 2s. Okay, so another new step that we've got to use to name these because there's something different. What's different about those transition metals compared to the other ones that were type 1, like the alkali and alkaline earth metals? They have multiple charges, okay? And that's the difference. So since they have multiple charges, you have to tell the reader, okay, what specific ion you're looking at. And this is super important. Think about it in the terms of the real world, okay? When I go to my stock room in the back, room, I have to know that I'm looking for the right stuff, okay? Copper 1 chloride versus copper 2, they both have different properties, different chemistry. So it's important that we have to tell somebody on a label or whatever that you know you're dealing with the chemical that you're supposed to be dealing with. Otherwise, you could have a completely different outcome. Okay, it could be a matter of life and death. So it's really important that you label them correctly. So when we name ions here for the transition metal, we use what's called the stock system. All right, so the stock system just means a Roman numeral in parentheses is added to indicate the charge of the ion. So basically, we're putting a Roman numeral in the name to tell what ion we're actually looking at or we're actually using. Okay, so you've got to specify which ion it is. So here we go. Let's try an example together, and then I want you guys to try it on your own. Okay, this first one, so Pb. Look up and see what Pb is. That would be lead. Now, in parentheses, because notice, oh, there's lead here and there's lead here, but are they the same? No, they're not. They have different charges. So this one is going to be the lead 2 ion because it was the specific charge of +2. Okay, it's very important. You've got to make sure, and this is the one. Okay, this is the rule, the step that people forget most often. Okay, this is the one that people will forget come Regents time when we're reviewing and stuff, but it's very important. And I guarantee you, they will throw one of these on you on the Regents exam at you. Okay, so you guys go through and try to do the next 3. Pause the video, and then I'll go back in just a second and do them as well. All right, so this is going to be lead again. Pretty easy because it was right before. But this is the lead 3 ion instead of the lead 2. All right, different chemistry. Down here, we're doing the opposite. They're giving you the name. You've got to give me the ion. So this says iron 3, so that's going to be pretty easy. Fe3+. This is going to be Fe2+. Okay? Now, the last one, this is your type 3. This is going to be pretty simple as well. I'll be honest, like I said, type 2 with those transition metals, those are the ones that are the most challenging. Type 3... Again, if you look over here, those are the ones in purple. Those are your nonmetals, okay? So they have the same type of trend. We don't have to worry about the charge. The standard charge, guys, would just be the first one that you see on the periodic table. But what we're going to do is we're not going to call it an ion here to signify that we have an ion. We're going to drop the ending of the element's name, and we're going to add the suffix "ide." Okay, so the first example that we have here is one that maybe when we did, when we did the elements quizzes at the beginning of the school year, you guys had to memorize the elements. Some of you might have gotten this very problem wrong because of how you wrote it. Okay, so this one, if we take a look, the first charge on our periodic table for fluorine, or the only one, for fluorine, is a -1. Okay, so it's going to have that -1. Oops, sorry. -1, that's what the ion would be. But instead of fluorine, we're going to drop the ending, the INE, and it's going to become fluoride. So some of you guys put that on your element quiz back in September, and I marked it wrong. Like, well, it's 1 letter difference. Well, guys, take a look. Okay, fluorine, if you look at its valence electrons, has got 7. Fluoride, okay, after it's bonded and it's gotten that other electron, it now has 8. It's completely different chemistry. Fluorine gas will kill you. Fluoride, you use it every day in your toothpaste. Okay, completely different chemistry, so it's very important. One letter change can mean a whole different set of rules, set of properties. So make sure you are very meticulous with how you're doing it. Take the next couple minutes, pause the video, go through and try to write the next few ions. Remember, you're going to use the first charge that you see in the box on the periodic table, and then try to name them. All right, here we go. Let's take a look. I minus or -1. This we would call iodide. Iodide. Oxygen, O2 minus. Okay, this is going to be called oxide. Now, again, if you're struggling with the names right here, guys, you'll figure it out as time goes on, so don't stress about it. I'm going to be a little bit more lenient early on, and if I see anything as I'm correcting it or as you check answer keys, you'll get the feel for it. The next one here, N3 minus. This is called nitride. So again, you'll learn if you put nitrogide, you had the right idea. Okay, if it sounds weird and sounds kind of clunky, probably shorten it. But like I said, the more practice you do, the more your ions you're going to see, and you'll figure it out. So those are naming monatomic ions. Okay, the 3 types. Big one, number 2. We're going to get lots of practice with it, figuring out what the charge actually is. All right, so I will see you guys in the next video.